Is that an oopsie? Do we have an oopsie on our hands? I think that's another oopsie, is what one half of the news is. Because yes, Riot came up with a new piece of news that is arguably fine, but it is wrapped around a feature that some League of Legends players don't like. Now, what kind of a horrible change could this be? It's backhand engineering and dealing with name changes. Sounds horrifying, doesn't it? So let me explain. Since the dawn of time, League of Legends accounts functioned on a two-name system. You log in using your username, but once you get into the game, you use your game name, or in League's case, your summoner name. The reason why this system is used in pretty much every multiplayer game is kinda obvious. You see, your username is set in stone, and it is invisible to everyone else. It is invisible because by revealing it, people could steal your account, and you can't change it because that's how Riot identifies your account. Your game name or summoner name, however, can be changed, and so it allows you to change your visible identity should you wish to do so. In fact, for whatever reason, a good portion of League's community immediately try and change their name to whatever new champion just came out. But that will all soon change. Because with the latest news, it was revealed that all of Riot's games will be using Riot ID. Which means that League's summoner names will be transitioning into Riot ID too. It was very easy to spot this coming a mile ahead, because some of Riot's products are already using it, with the one leading the charge being Valorant. Now at this point, some of you may be wondering, well, isn't Riot's ID going to be the exact same thing as the summoner name? Isn't it just a different name for the exact same thing? Well, the main benefit of the Riot ID is that Riot ID is shared across all the games. In many ways, it functions identically to something like the battle tag which Blizzard is using, or even Steam ID. It is a name which you can share with your friends and which allows you to connect with them across all of Riot's games. It makes sense why Riot is pushing for it now, because heading into the future there will be other games such as Project L, or even in the distant future stuff like the MMO, which would all normally require their own separate names. So instead, it is simply smart to just unite everything under the same name. With the secondary benefit being that now your friend list is going to be shared across all the games, which is something that was previously achievable in something like Valorant or even Wild Rift, with a lot of copy-pasting on the technical side. Now that entire part will just be a lot smoother. But as always, big transitions are never as smooth as people want them to be. Because the main problem is that the Riot ID is not unique. And so while up to this point every summoner name was different, now it sounds like it will be possible for multiple players to have the same name. Specifically, here's how it works. Every user now has their base name, which is followed up with their tag. By default, the tag of every League player should be their server. But you can change that tag to be whatever you want. As long as it is 4 characters, it can be anything. Also, as long as it is not inappropriate. The thing is, neither the name nor the tag are unique. It is only their specific combination that counts as a unique entry. And therein lies the problem. This part is still unclear, but as far as we know, the first part of your Riot ID is what is going to be your in-game name. That is what the summoner name is being turned into. So if I am Necrit with the tag EUW, what is stopping other people from turning into Necrit KEKW? It simply means that my name is no longer unique. And now you can run into imposters. There will be Necrits running around Gold Elo, which is definitely not where I belong. But the funny thing about this one is that Valorant has worked like this for a while now. Unlike League, Valorant doesn't have fully unique names, meaning that their Grandmaster level players don't stand out as much as they do in League. With that said, speaking with personal experience, I learned about the great benefits of hiding your name there anyway. Anyway, there is also one more thing we can mention here. On Riot's support website, you can find that both the summoner names and Riot IDs have to avoid some names. For example, neither of them can have any variation of the word Riot in them, and you cannot impersonate any esports professionals. Anything else, though, is up for grabs. So with this mentioned, I would like to ask Riot, can my name be also put on the unique list? Anyway, besides this questionable new take on summoner names, where League of Legends players are mad they can't fight over unique names anymore, there is also a second oopsie that makes this entire thing a little bit more painful. But that one is explained in Riot's new post. So, let's dive into that one. It all begins with a bit of an introduction. On November 20th, 2023, we'll be phasing out the usage of summoner names and moving all players exclusively to Riot IDs to create a more unified experience across all of our games. We understand there might be some mixed emotions regarding these changes. Whether you've been here for 14 years or 14 minutes, in-game names are an important part of how you experience a game. Our goal is to make this change as seamless as possible and help you feel as connected to your Riot ID as you do your summoner name. This pretty much summarized everything we just mentioned. This change is overall good when you look into the future at all the upcoming Riot games, especially with stuff like Project L or the MMO. But it still sucks because we are losing some features. They then follow up with why this is happening. The lore of Runeterra, League of Legends, and Summoner's Rift has changed over the years. Yeah, I know. In the beginning, players were summoners who brought the original roster of champions to the Rift. Eventually, this became limiting to the world and the characters within it. So in 2024, the focus shifted to the champion themselves rather than all-powerful summoners. Like, I know all of this. I was there during the original lore, but I still don't think that is really what's related to this change. The word summoner still shows up in a few places, like the odd voice line, the occasional reference, and most notably the name of the rift. But when it comes to players, summoner names don't sync with the lore and hasn't for a while. This update is designed to better match the current world of League of Legends, create more fluidity between all the titles, and streamline the way names work from a technical perspective. So yeah, create more fluidity between the titles? Absolutely. But I wouldn't sell this transition as a lore update. Like, I know they just announced all the changes to League's lore and they even gave us the entire IP team, which is now overlooking all the stories. But this is probably not where this change originates from, although it does play into the entire unifying strategy. Then the post jumps into what you need to do with your account, which is nothing. Everything happens automatically. You don't have to take any action for this update. If you've played a Riot game before, you have a Riot ID. If you aren't sure what your Riot ID is, there are a few ways to check it. As an example, you can log into their website or you can find it on your profile card in League of Legends. But then comes the part some players may not like. The part called Going Forward with Riot ID. As part of this change, we are also updating how often you may change your Riot ID for free. Once we swap over to Riot ID, every player will receive a free name change every 365 days. If players want to change their names more often than that, there will be a fee attached similar to current summoner name system. So yes, you can change your name for free once a year. And if you want to do it more often, you have to pay. Sounds fair, but some people pointed out a tiny catch. More on that one in just a second. There are a few reasons we decided on this system and we want to explain them here. As the primary name of a player, how you choose to identify yourself in the game should have a bit of weight to it. In addition, it can be hard to track a larger friend list with constant name changes. No one likes to lose track of that Sky main with crisp comms and clutch heals. Like, come on. This is a League of Legends post. With Riot ID becoming the standard across all of our titles, the ability to change your name for free every 30 days just isn't something we can do from a technical and business perspective. The 365-day cooldown is aimed at striking a balance that both encompasses the majority of name changes by players, while also providing an option for players who want to change their name more often than that. So yes, here's the issue. While we are getting a free name change every year, in the past, you were able to change your ride ID every 30 days. The thing is, back then, the ride ID was totally separate from the summoner name system, meaning that changing your summoner name was still a paid service. But under this new system, it would mean that League of Legends players would get a free name change every 30 days, even though this is how the service worked for Valorant players the entire time, because those games only ever used ride ID. So that's really one of the reasons why the monetization change is happening. You still will get a free name change once a year, but for the rest of the year you will still have to stick with the old paid name changes. And when it comes to the technical side, yeah, I understand why they are limiting it. When League was separated, changing names there just put a load on their own server. But now that everything is connected, every name change has to go through the central hub as well. So on the technical side, it is being a little bit more expensive for the system, especially if the central hub is receiving name changes from all the different games at once. But should it be as expensive as Riot is making it out to be? How can I change my name? As part of this change, we will have a free name change available for all players immediately after the shift happens on November the 20th. If players want to purchase an additional name change, you will be able to do so on the account page. And it will cost you the equivalent of approximately $10 in the in-game currency. On November the 20th, the only in-game currencies that will be supported are Riot Points and Legends of Runeterra coins. The tech teams on the other titles are working on pathing that will allow for name changes to be purchased using Valorant points, Wild Rift cores and TFT coins in the future. As we know, this isn't ideal for players. We will also have a couple more free changes in the coming months to ease the transition into Ride ID. Our social channels will have updates for when those free name changes resets will happen, and when these other currencies will come online. For more information, visit our player support articles for summoner name and ride IDs. So yes, Riot is aware that all these changes to name changes are not ideal for all the players, especially those who have been constantly changing their ride IDs for some reason. And so, to strike a balance, they will be handing out some free name changes. So, is this as big of a deal as people are making it out to be? Well, not really. It only really affects all the people who constantly change their names for games like Valorant. But more than that, it does affect how League of Legends will no longer have unique names. But on the bright side, this is something you will only ever face at the highest levels of ranked. That's when the known players start facing each other more frequently. So that's where they would recognize each other. At anything that is a master level and below, I don't believe people will notice anything. So the biggest change this one brings in is how we are going to play a game of Among Us every time we queue up.